Hi, everyone. My name is Stacy, the operations architect, and I am here to help you to create and build better businesses by diagnosing, designing, hiring, and inspiring your teams to execute relentlessly. And today we are talking about how we win the battle for talent. The Great Resignation, mass exodus, the big quit, employee attrition, whatever you want to call it, is dominating the headlines and placing work as we know it under the microscope. Much like COVID-19, many thought the Great Resignation would have had a quick resolution. The reality has been, though, anything but. It's been throwing leaders for a loop. Workers are tired and they're frustrated. They realize that time is their greatest asset and want to make the most of it. So they are reassessing why they work and quitting to find out what drives them. So what exactly are they looking for? The answer's complex, but that's because people are complicated. There's no easy answer to this. Their needs are constantly evolving, and there's no one golden path to solving those needs. Just a little bit about us. So I am Stacy Cole, and I am Alchemy Business Consulting, and we are a global consulting firm that we work with business leaders to solve their most pressing problems and help them capitalize on their most significant opportunities. Our success depends on a collaborative spirit and a global community of diverse individuals committed to daily improving the world and each other. So what we do, we work together with you to achieve the excellent business success that is tailored to your business's requirement. Today's session. During today's session, you will be asked a series of questions during our presentation that is meant to have you reflect on the current state of your business. The goal is to have you take some time to evaluate your business and your people strategy and see if it's impacting your employee growth, engagement, and retention. So let's get started. People are continuously quitting at record levels, making the competition for highly qualified, talented force, hybrid work, the Great Resignation, labor shortages, and skill gaps have organizations scrambling to hire and retain, develop employees. It can be a bit overwhelming, I would say. And we get it. We are here to help you as much as we can. The following 7 tips to win the war for talent will provide you a thought-provoking checklist to help you shore up any areas that could impact the results you're after. The stakes are high nowadays, and it's important for us to try to get it very close to right. The disruption for this war and this disruption have negatively impacted a lot of organizations, and it needs to be handled with care. Handled well, businesses and people will thrive. I hope you enjoy this presentation and to your success. So what's your mission? Today's employees want to know the why behind their work. Money and benefits are just not enough. Your employees want to be a part of something bigger. The good news is that business is about solving problems. Consider these 3 questions. If you can't answer them with absolute certainty, taking the time to do so will help you retain your talent. Think about, just for a moment, what problems do you solve? What is the solution that you provide? And has that changed since the pandemic shifted? Because it's not over. Can every person in your organization answer the first two questions in the same way? This is important because if you have varying answers, there is probably a bit of a disconnect between what your mission is and what the employees believe their jobs are. So it's very important that you get this right. So take a few minutes and answer these questions. We all want high performing teams. We like how excited they are, how motivated they are, how engaging they are. And when our teams are in sync and motivated to do their jobs, our revenues rise. I want to talk to you about one idea and the ability to create high-performing teams that get the job done. We're almost post-COVID. It's all about the teams. There are people working with people they don't know, for a manager that they've just met, doing jobs they weren't hired for, all while trying to drive results for your company with new initiatives that they didn't even plan for. So when I talk to other leaders like yourself, there are 4 areas close to the surface. Leaders seem to be concerned about, one, of course, the employees, whether the morale, productivity, or engagement. The executives I work with are concerned about their people and their people getting the most from them, supporting them, paying for them, ensuring they're working together cohesively towards the same goal. 2, strategy. Given the current realities of our day and business in general, leaders like yourself are required to rethink and pivot strategies. Many leaders are seeking solutions, whether this is a current storm that will end temporarily, or it will go on for the next 18 to 24 months. We're completely unsure about how long this is going to go. However, we have no reason to wait, and nor can we wait. So we have to implement strategies that will not only impact us today, but help move us forward. If you have any investors are looking to add clarity to the path ahead. They need to ensure that they have the team in place to tackle the realities they're facing. They need to build and maintain the trust in their teams and their investors so they can move forward confidently in the face of uncertainty. We're looking towards the future. And whether that's maximizing productivity, pivoting strategies, initiatives, or rebounding from economic realities, concerns about the future are real. The good news is there are some simple steps to take. So up to now, there's been some questions on the page. Employee experience matters. And I don't think I should be reading the screen for you, so I'm not going to do that. But I want you to take some time, 3 questions to consider. Employee experience does matter. Do your employees feel heard? Is there an easy outlet for them to provide feedback? Is the feedback publicly celebrated and acted upon? It is very important, as we're creating these remote and hybrid teams all over the world, that we are implementing strategies, tools, and processes that allow for our employees to communicate openly and not feel as if they are outside of the company, outside of the culture, but in fact, a part. I'm moving on. Employees that work remotely at home, whether it's a hybrid team or in the office. They want their individuality and they want a safe environment, regardless of their race, ethnicity, clothing, gender, or sexual orientation. They want to feel safe. So I want you to ask yourself, are you creating a safe environment for your staff and employees? And take some time to think about that. So rather than relying on your gut when working with your team, you could have objective data that can open more doors to creativity, because you'll be catering to the personalities of and the skill sets of the current staff that you have and any employees that you bring on. Unlike healthy teams that lack understanding of one another's strengths and blind spots, you would have the ability to quickly highlight individual and team strengths and any potential areas of concern. If you're open, this would allow you to work more effectively with your entire team, tapping into strengths and coaching where needed to support your objectives. This could help your team and your leaders avoid getting bogged down with personalities and tensions. You would have the data to work more effectively with your existing team instead of confusion around who did what and why they did it. You can provide some clarity and understanding with your teams to avoid the all too common challenges that teams naturally run into. Alignment is important. You'll hear me talk about alignment a lot, whether we meet one-on-one or I'm working with your team. Synergy, teams working together is how we increase the bottom line. And finally, in the same way, you could use this data and the tools to understand the individuals and teams you have, the teams that you have. Sorry, you can outline and visualize your core initiatives that will drive your business forward, and then you'll be able to systematically align your team to your objectives to help better coach, support, and lead the team forward in these very crazy times. Now that you've figured out how to get your team in alignment, you've evaluated employee experience, employees want to know where they're going. I bumped into a old colleague today, and we talked about a company that we have in common, and they have one of the most rigorous and well-rounded succession plans. You come in and you know what direction you're going to go into, and how we enjoyed working and growing within that company dynamic, because it gave us an outline of direction and where we were going to head. Employees want to know where they're going. So as an organization, small business, large business, it really doesn't matter. Career paths refers to the growth of the employee in an organization, where employee can chart their course for his or her career path, growth and development. It includes different positions an employee might perform as she grows within that organization. If you don't have a career path for your employees, perhaps Secretary 1, Secretary 2, Manager 1, Manager 2. Just an example. You may want to sit down and evaluate the roles and responsibility, because that's going to help retain your employees and increase some engagement and keep them there for the long run. Okay, let's get real here. You must be honest with yourself and know that hybrid and remote teams aren't going anywhere. With this shift, companies have to deal with, including getting trained themselves personally, but also getting their managers trained. And then the managers and you have to learn how to manage and mentor virtually. So ultimately, we are reskilling ourselves for management today and not management in the 1970s and 1980s and 1990s. Okay. So with this shift, there's a lot to deal with. Hybrid and remote mentoring can be done via email, Zoom, chat, but you have to have the tools in place. So, for example, I did a Zoom call today and the technology was wonky. And so we had to hop off and do just a phone call and then hop back on and do the demo and hop back off and just do the phone call. You have to be open. So there's no room for being rigid here. Employee mentoring is also important. Pairing your employees up with a senior level employee that can be open with them and how the employee can share their concerns. They are feeling supported, they're receiving some training. And all of these work in tandem as you are implementing strategies and designing an effective program where you are not only retaining and engaging current employees, but also as you are hiring employees, you're bringing them into a safe environment where leadership and their co-workers are helping them feel comforted and welcomed. There's that word again, team alignment, because it's important. Employee turnover hurts the company's bottom line in the long run. There's this big statistic, and I should have gotten that for you. The cost of an employee turnover. It's expensive. So when you hire, getting these teams up and running quickly can help your bottom line. So there's tools that are available to you to help support that and support your efforts. Teams need to be in sync because of hybrid work, the Great Resignation, labor shortages, and skills gaps. Before the pandemic, companies had teams that weren't working together then. Okay, so this is not new. COVID just added to the pressure that was already there. When teams and their coworkers work well together, they keep your customers happy and your business moving in a positive direction. Consider exploring tools to help you better understand the dynamics of the teams that you're managing and directing. Ensure these tools map out the teamwork that you would like to deliver. Leadership, 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 and leadership. Without a strategy process and procedure, leaders frequently fail to implement best practices due to judgmental blind spots. Without proper guidance, leaders will want to make people and financial decisions based off of their gut. Employees, hiring, training, coaching, development is an expensive process. So there is no room to just use gut instinct to hire an employee that's going to ultimately work directly with your customers and your clients. A poor hire, a bad hire can negatively impact your employee morale, turnover, and your dollars. A bad hire can eventually lead to miscommunications among team members, causing friction, a bunch of water cooler talk that could possibly lead to disgruntled employees and a bad rating on the performance of your company. Employees must trust their leaders They value authenticity and transparency, and any breach in ethics or trust can devastate engagement, particularly among remote and hybrid workers. They have less time to interact with one another and more time to feel excluded. I want you to think about this. Are your leaders of critical teams in your company or you aware of your blind spots? Is your team unclear of why they're struggling? Do you sometimes wonder if your team can deliver? We don't want our teams to feel excluded. No team member. And that may not be your intention. Of course, that's not ever our intention. However, it's critical to invest in your leaders' self-awareness. Leaders must be aware of their strengths and their weaknesses. They must also understand the people that they lead and the dynamics at work on their teams. This is going to make for a successful and strong team overall. Hey, we get it. Mistakes are expensive, and in light of employee engagement, retention issues, and hybrid work, we live in historical times. It doesn't need to be the case, though. The stakes are high, and we don't necessarily have to deal with this war. There are strategies that you can implement, things that you can put in place, tools and resources that you can use. I'm hoping today that you were able to think and reflect seriously about your company's performance, and I gave you something to think about. So, moving forward, I thank you for joining us today in this presentation. If you are watching this at home or watching this in the office, there's a free download here for you to access the free report on the state of talent optimization. It will provide you with some insight on optimizing your teams. In addition, take some time to make peace with your war on hiring. Look at it holistically. Here's my contact information. If you're interested in scheduling your talent session, my contact information is below. And thank you so much for joining us for this very brief presentation. And I look forward to hearing from you. And make it a great day.